Hey YouTube, it's Rai here, and in this Battlefield 4 Know Your Role video, we're going to cover the scout helicopter, specifically a loadout I like to use with combination of a squad and your squad mates to be an anti-air scout helicopter, basically owning the skies in any map, any game type in Battlefield 4. Now what I'll be doing is giving you some tips and tricks on both a pilot and as a passenger in the scout helicopter, and specifically working with a squad. This really isn't for solo flying. This is you're working with at least one other squad member, preferably two other squad members, to really maximize what the helicopter can do and keeping yourself alive and really doing damage on any air vehicles in the map. So first off, let me go over my loadout that I like to use when piloting the scout helicopter. Again, this is for console players specifically. Use the 25mm cannons as your main gun, just because with the controller it seems to be able to do more damage against infantry and be a little easier to get kills against infantry using the 25mm cannons. You also can do damage with your main gun against IFVs, attack boats, tanks, other vehicles like that, which you can't really do with the miniguns. Heat seekers, obviously, for the anti-air capabilities. ECM or flare is your countermeasures. Really, it's what your personal preference is. I tend to use ECM, but either one will work fine. And by all means, be sure as an upgrade you have the gyro stabilizer. Just because you have passengers that are going to be healing you and constantly kind of keeping your health up at 100 in the vehicle doesn't mean that you don't need that gyro stabilizer to keep yourself from spinning out of control when you get a critical hit. So that's kind of what I like to run. Now, if you are the pilot, I would suggest using a support class. Reason being is because your engineers are going to be using rockets, specifically anti-air rockets, when they're sitting in the sides of your helicopter. So you want to have an ammo bag available where you can get to a safe spot, land, drop an ammo bag if they run out of rockets, refill their rockets, hop back in the helicopter, and start doing more damage. Now I'm going to go over some flying tactics here. You see this clip here of me flying, and thanks to my buddies DC Jameson and HJ for helping me in getting the footage for this video. They're kind of keeping me healed, locking on with their Stinger rockets onto the enemy helicopters, and just all in around keeping our helicopter up and flying around. Now what I like to do when I fly, I like to line up enemy choppers and keep them at about a medium range. You don't want to get them too close where they're spinning around. That way you can get your missiles locked on, as well as your the engineers in your scout helicopter riding passenger can get locked on as well and get their shots on them, which a lot of times they'll get more of the kills than you will, which is fine, because the point being you want to take them out and get those off the map. When you're closer to the ground, keep moving. I don't like to use vehicles really to go in close and get flags. If you do decide to do that, go ahead and get that thing spinning around. Don't keep it stationary. You're just asking to get RPG'd or SRA'd if you do so. Let the passengers shoot a Stinger before you shoot your missiles. That's a key. If you're lining up an attack helicopter or a scout helicopter, you want to have one of your guys, one of your engineers, shoot a Stinger out at them, because what'll happen is it'll cause them to then use their countermeasures. Once they use their countermeasures, you can then have at it with two of your heat seekers to go ahead and shoot at them, and then because of the quick reload time the engineers have for their Stingers, they can start shooting at them as well. You're usually able to take down their helicopter even if they have two mechanics healing their scout helicopter themselves. Now I wanted to mention the major threat you have, as far as I'm concerned, when you're flying with a scout helicopter and you have one or two engineers who are repairing you, is definitely the laser designation guided missile combination. So a PLD from a recon player, let's say, is designating you, and a couple engineers with SRAs or a javelin shoot at you. If they hit you with two missiles at the same time, you're done for. There's no repairing it. There's no getting out of it. So you want to keep that in mind, that if you are hearing a constant lock on, you want to try and get low, get cover, break that lock somehow, because that is when you are probably most in danger. It's not usually coming from the other attack helicopter or the other, the other scout helicopter or even an attack jet a lot of times. More often than not, that's going to be what's going to take you down most when you have a squad working together, you got a couple guys repairing your helicopter, and you're flying it and kind of keeping track on what's going on. So just keep that in mind. Now, as you see here, we're getting to some of the clips now as I'm the passenger. And let me go ahead and give you the loadout I believe is best when used as a passenger. If you're going to use some squad tactics, I feel like this is the best way to go to be like an anti-air scout chopper. I'd say you, of course, use an engineer class, obviously with a repair tool, and I like to use the mechanic upgrade because you get that first level mechanic upgrade gives you that increased repair statistics. So you can repair that much faster right off the bat. And you and another player repairing, I mean, you can get hit, as you'll see here sometimes, we get hit in some of these things with, 3, 4, 5 missiles in a row, but we can just take it and keep repairing it. And as you see, the pilot is doing a good job at getting up in the air, keeping us up high, away from enemy RPGs, away from, making it more difficult to guys hit us with straws, things like that. So that's something to keep in mind there. And of course, as an engineer, I'd say I use the stingers instead of the iglas. I mean, you can use the iglas if you like. The only problem with the iglas is because you have to keep it locked on for the missile to track and hit its target. It can be a little bit more difficult, to when you're in a scout chopper that's moving and dodging and diving. You really want the pilot just to fly and feel free and not have to, turn one way or the other just so you can line up your shot. You really want to use the stingers because unlike the iglas where you have to keep it locked on, the stingers you lock on, you get that lock sound, you shoot it, and you immediately go into reload again and not worry about having to track it to the target. It's just a lot better that way. It just seems to be a better fit using that. And then I'd say as your gun, use a PDW or a carbine. I'd usually suggest a good carbine that gives you some good fire, because you are going to find instances where, like as you see here, us approach this roof, where your pilot's going to be able to line up some shots for you to try and get some close infantry kills. And as they're shooting their 20mm cannons or their main guns at them, you want to be able, as you see I did right there, to get a kill with your carbine on them. And that's important to use that too, and use that technique. Another good tip, and it kind of goes without saying because it is Battlefield 4, but it's to communicate with the pilot and the other passengers in the scout helicopter. Who's going to shoot off that missile first to cause the enemy helicopters to use their countermeasures. I definitely have it be one of the passengers. You don't want it to be the pilot. You want to save those pilot heat seekers because they take a lot longer to reload than you do your stinger. So by you shooting off a stinger, causing them to shoot their countermeasures out, you can then go ahead and basically get about 4 missiles on them then at a time, and it doesn't matter even if they have 2 guys repping, they're not going to be able to repair from 4 missiles getting shot at them and hitting them all at once. Another thing is to use the audio clues to let you know if you need to repair before a missile that's locking on hits. If you hear, they pop the countermeasures, your pilot has, and you hear that sound that you're getting locked onto, go ahead and switch to your repair tool, start repairing. Find your repair spot, start repairing right away. That way when that missile hits, you're already getting repaired, and your pilot's able to kind of weather that storm and fly out of it and keep the plane alive. Doing these techniques with you and another engineer working together with a pilot can really just make you guys dominate the skies, make you own the map in Battlefield 4, and just cause a bunch of havoc for any air vehicles and also infantry on the ground. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit like and subscribe. And until next time, this is Rai. Take care.